Good evening, good evening. Greetings. I am Takesha Michelle of Education Inside Out. And I am so happy that you all have clicked in and decided to join us. Things have been a little wonky this evening, but we are excited to come and share with you a little bit more about parent concerns, COVID in the classroom. Now, if you all happen to catch when we were on 2 weeks ago, we met and talked with parents, with moms actually last time, because school was getting ready to go back in the classroom, at least here locally. Some kids are still doing virtual, but all in all, we're in Plan B, and children, some of them have gone back to school and others haven't. They're still learning online. So that's a concern, not just for moms, but it's also a concern for dads. So tonight we're talking about dads are doing it too. Dads do school too. It's not just the moms. So as we move forward this evening, you're going to have an opportunity to listen and understand what we're talking about as we move forward. So our focus this evening will actually be active parent participation. All right, active parent participation. So what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the greatest need, according even to research. You know, we don't just talk about it, but we found some research to back up what the greatest need is for children, and how parents have participated in school in the past, and what participation should look like right now, during, and even after COVID. So come on, go with me, and we're going to talk a little bit about parent concerns. We're going to talk about parent concerns, COVID in the classroom. I apologize again, wonkiness. Hey, there we go. COVID in the classroom, active parent participation. So I told you we're going to talk about some research, and we have 2 research reports. So listen carefully. And again, I am Takesha Michelle of Education Inside Out, and we are talking parent concerns, COVID in the classroom. So I just want you to know that yes, you can do this. There is a 2016 report that celebrates the increase of parent engagement in schools. But that report shares that parents with limited education, or I don't want to say a lack of funding, but not as much money, limited funding, limited money coming in, those parents were the ones that participated less than their counterparts. Can somebody say achievement gap? We hear it all the time. There's an achievement gap. Maybe this has something to do with it. Now, this study was done by Child Trends. And then there was a 2019 study conducted by the universities of Plymouth and Exeter, which showed how parental engagement has a positive effect on a child's academic attainment, regardless of the age or the socioeconomic status. Now, this is according to Science Daily. But did you all hear that? Regardless of the age of the parent or the socioeconomic level, your child will be successful, or can be successful, if you just show up. All you have to do is show up, and your child's opportunity of success increases substantially. So I want to move forward and say, kind of like, now what? You know, you're probably thinking, so Takesha Michelle, I have taken parent participation to a whole other level since March 16th. And I would venture to agree with you. And I want you to know that that's great, but now what? What's next? And I want you to take a look at this slide. As I was creating this slide, I was wondering, and Dad, you don't have to chime in just yet, and you can talk about it later, but how did the schedule look in your house? Who was the teacher most often? Was it you? Was it mom? Did you have a tutor? who dealt with all of the school subjects, all of the lessons, all of the activities? I don't know, maybe the schedule didn't look the same in your home, but maybe it did. So what I want to know is, again, now what? What's next? Were you so overwhelmed by all of the work that you had to do with your children during that time, that when they were able to go back to school, you were like, here, take this, take her, take him, so that you could get back to doing life the way you remember doing it? So you could have a break, maybe? I'm not sure. What did you do? Or what will you do? Maybe you could ask more questions now. Maybe you'll get more connected. Or maybe you'll even expect more from yourself or your child. Is that what's next for you? So let me ask you, were you, there aren't many competitions, sporting competitions or performances. Were you that parent? Were you the parent that only picked up and dropped off because that was the part that you were supposed to play? Were you that parent? I wasn't the parent that just picked up and dropped off. Okay, I will tell you that. But I did enjoy the going to the games and what practice looked like, and going and shopping for all of the different equipment and everything, or the clothes or the jewelry that was needed for whether it was a performance or a sporting event. I did enjoy that. But for me, my daughter's in college, so that's not even our thing. But I ask you, parents whose children are currently in school, K-12, how are you going to be involved now? How were you involved during quarantine? Did you happen to discover anything different or new about your child? Something that they really liked or that they didn't like? Maybe there was a particular activity that they were doing just because you wanted them to do it. Did anybody have those conversations? Now, I can even say just for myself, during quarantine, I kind of wish that quarantine had happened. Not the whole COVID situation, not all the bad stuff, of course. But had we had a quarantine in our house prior to my daughter going to college, we probably would have chosen a whole different university for her to attend. Just because she started one way, and after she was in college, she changed, because every time she said something to me during her high school years, I would research it, I'd tell her to research it, and we would discuss it, and bam, that was the direction we were going in. Bam, we were going in that direction after direction, until we settled. Now, everything was kind of in the same vein, but I know that the kind of conversations that I was able to have with her during quarantine, if they'd have happened prior to college starting, again, we may have gone in a totally different direction. So again, I ask you, what is it that you learned that's going to help you moving forward with your child? I also want to ask you, I want to encourage you rather, to know that no matter what you think or feel about yourself, the school, or the teachers, that you must show up for your child. Okay? No matter how much money you make or don't make. No matter what the teacher said to you last year, no matter what, you must show up for your child. Hold on to that. It is imperative that you hold on and show up for your child. What I want to encourage you to do is to make sure that you begin to ask the questions, read notes, check the school website, and listen to those automated calls. That's very important because that information is for you. It's going to help you impact the life of your child. The academic success of your child hinges on your active participation. And you can't be active, you can't be an active participant if you are not actively engaged, paying attention to the work. And I say to you, if you're working with your student, with your child on assignments or talking to them about an activity or a project, not only might you learn something, you give your child the opportunity to teach you and to learn from you. And I know you are probably like, what do you mean learn from me? Because as they're teaching you what they're learning in school, you should have, and you probably will have some memories. They may not all be positive, but you are going to have some memories that you're going to, we did this and we played this game and it wasn't like this, but what I see is that there's this and that. And you all get to have a learning experience together. Rest assured, your children will remember those things. And then guess what? They ask you later. Let me see, all of you. I think one of the dads, two of the dads on the panel that I know for sure potentially have children who have come back to say to them, hey, Dad, remember that? Remember when we did this? And you're like, and unless you're like me, unless you're way better than me, I say, tell me more about that. Because I don't always remember every single thing I did or didn't do or why I did it or how I did it. I remember a lot of things, but I don't remember all of the things. But my children remind me. And so I tell you, they will remember. It will be impactful to them. So, now, another bit of encouragement. You mom, you dad, you grandma, auntie, cousin, whomever you are who is the caregiver, you are your child's greatest support system. Okay, if you don't show up for them now, what do you expect their future to look like? If you don't show up for them now, what do you expect their futures to look like? I want you to remember that parent participation, even during COVID or a COVID school year, is imperative to the success of children, your children. I say thank you, and I know your children will thank you. If they haven't yet, just keep waiting for it. It'll come, the thank you. I am Takesha Michelle of Education Inside Out. Thank you all for allowing me to share, for joining. And I welcome your comments, your suggestions, your questions as we move forward through this series of parent concerns, COVID and the classroom. Now I am so excited that I get to welcome our dads who are doing it too. These dads, I know that they are actively engaged in the lives of their household, the lives of their children. And I want them to talk about what does it look like to be active during a COVID school year? How was it? Who made the decisions, you all? Who made the decisions for if the children were going back to school, if the children were not going back to school? Was it a one-sided decision? Did you all come to the conclusion together? Why? I think somebody's name is spelled wrong. Who made the decision for the children to go back or not go back? who does what in your household and why. You know, you don't need to tell us everything, but I do want you to share with the audience. How does it work for you? Because you all are doing school too. It's not just a mom thing, it is also a dad thing. So go ahead and open up your cameras and unmute yourselves. I am so excited to hear from you. We have DeJuan Ford in the house. So excited. Welcome, welcome. Sergeant DeJuan Ford, working in the community. Thank you, thank you. And we have Mr. Mike Webb. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Mike Webb, an educator in the community. Thank you, thank you. Welcome, welcome. And we also have Mr. Vance Williams.
Hey,
thank you for joining us. Also very active in the community centers and everything. Thank you for the work that you do, Vance Williams. And Tom Working, and I don't know if he's workings or working. I think I have my
no S.
Sorry, Tom.
No
I
S.
want to welcome
okay.
you. Tom is a working dad. And when I got his last name, I was like, but he is working, isn't he? Sorry, Tom. Sorry. That's my own just real bad humor. So
No
I
problem.
want to welcome you all and celebrate you. Let me take off. Let me stop sharing because I want the people to see you and hear what you're talking about. So go ahead. You have your cameras on, your sound released, and I want to hear your conversation about what does it look like in your household? What decisions were made for your children going back to school? And any one of you can get started and get the conversation started. I'm not sure which one of you feels the strongest about it, but go ahead and let us know. How is it working in your household? Whose children go back to school? Raise your hand if your children are back in school. I got
2 days a week.
Two. I got two.
Yes.
Two. Okay, I have my whole hand. Okay, Tom. Very good. Thank you. Tom corrected me without correcting me. He doesn't have the S on his own name. Very good.
That's
Sorry,
all right.
Tom. So very good. And then I see Vance Williams, your children are not. Your children are not back in school. That's all right. And I don't have a problem with it. Now, some people might, but I don't have a problem with it. Why don't you, Vance, go ahead and get started and just tell us why it is that you all decided, I don't know, who made the decision for your children to not go back? And then anybody else can chime in. I'm going to be listening on a delay. So let me know what are the thoughts going on there for you? Thanks, Vance. Share with us.
Yeah, I think it was a shared decision, but I always want to make sure my wife is comfortable, you know, with the decision. Because my wife during COVID, she was very antsy, very nervous, anxiety set in because every day she saw the numbers rise. Every other day she would see a rise. So there was some apprehension there. There was some nervous, some anxiety there. So I wanted to make sure that she was comfortable with whatever decision that we made, but we have the capacity to keep them at home. My wife works from home. I don't necessarily work from home, but I can make provisions based upon my schedule. So it was kind of an easy decision for us because we have the resources and capacity to keep them at home. So it was kind of a shared decision. I pretty much support my wife. She is a stay-at-home worker, so she works global, so she can, you know, pretty much do everything on the computer. So I'm kind of in and out. But I make sure during critical times where she has conference calls and meetings that I'm present. At first, it was a struggle for me. It was very difficult to make that transition, working out our schedules and matching it with their school schedule, but we worked it out. It wasn't that difficult as far as working out. We just had to sit down and just plan it out. But my wife pretty much, she does a lot based upon her schedule, and I kind of act as that support. So that's basically it. They're staying at home, and that's it, and they enjoy it. You know, I have tutors too, so yeah.
I could add too. I think I have a kind of a unique situation. My wife and I. So I'm a teacher. So I was obviously during the pandemic. I was at home with the kids trying to teach my classes and kind of monitor my students as well. So that was convenient in a lot of ways for us. As far as making the decision to go back, my wife is a nurse. She works in the hospital, so I kind of not pushed the decision, but I kind of leaned on her for the decision. I felt she had a good idea of what was going on in the community, and a lot like Vance, I felt like if she felt comfortable sending the children back, and that is her area of expertise, so we decided that we wanted the kids to go ahead and get back in school, and I think it was mostly for that social experience. Both of my kids are very active, like Takesha was talking about, in sports, and my daughter is big into competitive cheer, and they were missing all that. And my son misses basketball season, and it was just, we were getting stir crazy, and we felt that that sending them back and getting that social interaction was really something they needed at the time, and we felt comfortable doing so. And plus, I had to get back to work, so um, leaving them on their own all the time is an option because they're old enough, but it wasn't the best option we felt. So we're glad that they've been back now for a couple of weeks, at least twice a week, and we're trying to keep that going.
For us, we used the YMCA summer camp this year as kind of our guinea pig. So my daughter's always gone to the YMCA camp. When they reopened it, they had no sicknesses, they had no cases between the counselors, the students. She went for 10 weeks this summer and no one got sick. That was kind of our barometer for how things should go for the school year. So when they reopened the schools and they went with Plan B, we were pretty comfortable with it. My son is a high school senior. He was desperate just to get out of the house. So if they let him back for 5 hours a week, he would have went. So he's in music and drama. He can't be happier to be back in school.
You know, for us, Danae was very active, and then this thing hit and it caught us all off by guard. And she also went to the Y, the one over by College Road and Holly Tree. She went there. They had this special for first responders and everything. They got a discount for attending. But the challenge was me and my wife came to agreement. She's actually in school full time, and that I didn't want everything to be on her with her trying to concentrate and graduate from school. So we came into an agreement on how we was going to do things when this thing came out. I work 2 jobs myself. I teach at community college as well as work my normal job. So it was some challenges, and with that, we came into an agreement on who was going to do what, which I tried to assume the majority of it, because with them being out of school, kids Danae is 7 years old. She don't understand everything that's going on, but we tell her, and they wonder when the park gonna be back open, when can they go play. So, and then she ended up going to Child Care Network for a while, and they had a child to develop COVID, and they shut them down. They're shut down now for a couple of weeks for the quarantine. But I didn't think it's just like forced us to get more engaged with what's going on with the child in school and in schoolwork. It's not like we had a choice at this point, but I'm glad it happened, because then even beyond this, I will continue to stay engaged.
All right. So again, I apologize for the delay, but you all, that was a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So your decisions were based off of so many different things. It sounds like your wife's encouragement was a pretty big deal. And that's a good thing, not a problem at all, working it together. So I'm not sure if you all, again, it sounds like, let's see, Mike and maybe Vance, but for sure Mike, that schedule that I showed a little while ago, that schedule didn't work in your house. It was a little bit different. It was kind of the reverse, I'm guessing. There were more dad fill-ins as teacher than there were mom fill-ins as teacher. And it looks like Vance had some tutor fill-ins there. So that was kind of helpful, mom and tutor, it looks like. So, and I like that. Tom, you said that the going to the daycare, you all kind of, the YMCA was kind of your barometer for whether or not you would go ahead and send your child back. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I have not heard anybody say anything about using something else, a different source to identify whether, or to make the decision whether or not they were going to send their child back. So what does it look like? What does participation look like to you all right now? Or what might you encourage another dad to do who may be trying to figure out, oh my goodness, I just let my wife handle it, it's way easier. Because I tell you, I know that there are some, I've heard some dads at some games, I just pick him up and sorry, forgive my dad voice. I just pick her up or pick him up and drop him off. I gotta go make the money so that he or she can wear that uniform or buy that uniform or those, whatever, the different things that they need to participate. So I'm gonna go and I'll see you all later. I've heard that, and I just I laugh it off, and we keep. So does anyone have any encouragement, any suggestions for a dad or even a mom who might need to figure out how to work this thing out as we move forward, whether it's during COVID classrooms right now or post-COVID classrooms? What would you all have to say?
I can kind of speak from two perspectives a little bit. So the first thing I thought about, Takesha, when you started the presentation was make that first contact. You send that email. It's, used to be open house and we can't really do that anymore. But even beyond that, if you reach out to your child's teachers first, that's going to do two things, in my opinion. As a teacher, it lets me know that, okay, this parent wants me to contact them. And so as a teacher, I feel more comfortable doing that because I don't feel like I'm bothering them, or I don't feel like this parent is going to tell me or think that I'm not able to do my job. And why are they emailing me about my kid when they're supposed to be? So as a teacher, that helps me know, okay, that this parent really wants to know. And not that all parents don't want to know, but it's just that reinforcer. And from the parent side, when I make that first contact and my children know that I've made that first contact, especially for my son, he knows that the teacher and I are on the same team and on the same page. And he's not going to be able to tell me a untruth about an assignment that he didn't do, because he knows that the teacher and I have already exchanged emails, and we exchange emails at least once a month or so just to check in. And just having that and my kids knowing that, I think, kind of helps establish that relationship that, hey, we're all doing this together. And it's not just you go to school and then, you come home and there's a disconnect there. So that's something that I've always done from since they were younger. But I think, of course, Mike, being a teacher, I think kind of helped that.
Our situation was pretty similar. My third grade daughter, she's the one that we've had the most activity with. My senior, he's pretty much been hands off. He does his assignments, he gets his assignments, he goes to his meetings, and it's kind of been disappointing how little they've asked of the older kids. But the younger kids, they've had a lot of daily assignments. We've had daily check-in with her teacher sometimes, especially coordinating that work when she goes to YMCA. So they do her schoolwork while she's there, so then she can also go to the classroom and keep up. So my wife does it, I do it. And the big thing we do is pretty much every night, we kind of have a time limit. She doesn't get all her work done, we don't worry about it. We give her a break. We finish it on Saturday and Sunday since it's not due till the end of the week. Because our biggest thing has been eliminating stress. So if mom gets stressed or she gets stressed or I get stressed, everybody loses. So we try to put a limit, 7 o'clock, we unplug it, we go back to it the next day. And she's kept up pretty well. Most weekends are free.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, because you have to give them a break with I-ready tests and the workload that some of them have. And another challenge that we didn't expect that we have now is the we have a neighbor now. She had never had a neighbor that she could play with because the house next door is always the model home. So now a little girl moved in next door, and first time she had a neighbor she could play with. So she wanted to rush to her work so she could play with her neighbor. Then when she was going to Child Care Network, they weren't able to log in to one of her meetings. So she was missing assignments, which made it look like the parent wasn't doing the part. So we had to get that straight. So it's been challenges along the way, and we're working it out between me and my wife. But the workload, they have a good little bit of work on Seesaw to do, and it can be quite overwhelming if in one setting with the child's attention span. So we try to work with her and keep her encouraged in that. Either myself or my wife is here to encourage her through that. More so me, because she's in school, she's on the computer downstairs. So.
Y'all waiting on me? Okay. The thing about it, my children, they weren't prepared. I'm just gonna keep it real. They weren't prepared. Nothing has trained them or conditioned them for this virtual learning. So it has been, in that regard, just a struggle. I have to pay attention more than I normally do. I have to, there's times where I have to actually be there because my daughters are not used to actually sitting in front of the computer and just sitting there, just looking at a screen. Like, they are active children. So I had to make sure that I sit right next to them at times. And then my whole thing is I encourage them. I'm like, I inspire, baby, you're doing good. You're doing, I got a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old, so their energy level is really something. So sometimes I have to sit there and I have to encourage them. And then me and my wife, we kind of alternate, and she encourages them and tell them keep going. And then we take breaks. The homework, like Tom mentioned, sometimes it's that workload, but then we have to have that shut off because we don't want to anxiety, stress where they feel overwhelmed. So we have to monitor that too, because they have schoolwork and then they have homework. So 2:45, they're out of school, but then they got like 3 pages, 4 pages of homework to do. If they don't finish it all, they have to eat dinner. So it's a lot of different things. So I try to make sure I monitor that and make sure that they don't go into overload and so they're not stressed out. So that's it. I would tell a parent that you have to do a cultural shift. Whatever you were used to before, you either incorporate some stuff into your culture or you stop bad habits. So if you say, well, and sometimes we can put stress on our wife based upon bad habits and a bad culture. Like, no, I'll just go to work and I'll just do this and I'll just do that. So sometimes the responsibilities are not shared. So I think that once you determine the roles and responsibilities, I believe you can be more effective, but there's definitely has to be a cultural shift because we normally run our house a certain way, and this has changed a few things, but we adapt and we overcome. So, yeah. That's it.
There it is. All right, I do apologize. I'm dealing with so many different technical things right now, but I thank you all so much for sharing. That was a lot of great information. And I do hope that the viewers will take heed to what it is that you all have said and shared. That was it was a good conversation, and I'm so thankful. And I want to celebrate our dads for stepping in and representing dads. And I'm going to go with all over Southeast North Carolina. Really, it's not all of Southeast North Carolina, but that's kind of where we are right now. But I know that these dads do represent dads all over. Now, there may be some dads who are like, wait, I had to do it all by myself. It was me and my mom who had to do it. You know, maybe my wife is deceased, or my wife, I don't have a wife. I've raised my children, whatever that looks like. You're still celebrated. You are still represented here today because the dads had to step in and make some decisions too. And I know they said, you know, they want to make sure that their wives are happy, that their wives help make the decision. But even if it's you and your mom, even if it's just you making the decisions, or maybe you call your sister or your brother or someone, you've made decisions, and we celebrate you for being an active participant. Maybe you just made sure that you had somewhere for your child to go so that they would be safe and have someone to help them with their assignments. Again, for that, we celebrate you. We want to encourage dads to be an active participant in the lives of their children. Yes, moms do it like all the time, and y'all know it. Moms are active participants all the time. However, dads are doing this thing too. Dads are doing school, dads are picking up, dropping off, and helping with homework, no matter the life situation. So again, I want to thank DeJuan Ford, Michael Webb, Vance Williams, and Tom Working. He's only working, he's not the workings. And I want to thank all of you for taking the time this evening to join us. And again, I want to thank you, our audience, whether you're looking at us live or you are going to watch later. I want to celebrate you and thank you for taking the time. If you will, please feel free to leave your comments on Takesha Michelle, EDU Inside Out. Check us out on Facebook at Education Inside Out. And you can also get more information at www.eduinsideout.org. That's eduinsideout.org. And if in fact you need to contact us because you want to set up an appointment, you want to meet with us, you just want someone to help you figure out how to take a break, give us a call, 910-541-4121, 910-541-4121. And again, I want to thank you all so very much for taking the time to join us. Please share this information. Share it with your friends, your cousins, your sisters, your brothers, your uncles, your grandfathers, because we know that grandfathers and grandmothers are doing this thing too. All right, so we don't want to leave anybody out, and others will be joining us on future webinars about parent concerns, COVID in the classroom. We'll do probably one more in this series before we move on. But again, thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you all for joining us. And we will look forward to talking to you very soon and hearing your comments. I'm sorry, reading your comments and any questions that you have for us. Again, I am Takesha Michelle of Education Inside Out, and I thank you so much. And we look forward to talking to you again soon. Goodbye.